Hi, Roxanne.
Hi, Stephanie.
Well, I'm delighted to welcome you here on my set of interviews for I'm Ready for the World. Everybody following, listening to me and to Roxanne today, I'm interviewing Roxanne Spring. Roxanne is 73 years young, and you are a former midwife and currently the president of the Valley 104.9 FM radio. And you have a great story of reinvention. So you and I met by just by chance, sitting next to each other and starting a great conversation. And your enthusiasm and energy just was so inspiring that I was like, I need to interview Roxanne and bring her here because she's such a great source of energy and inspiration. So
Thank you.
thank you for being
Thank
here.
you.
So let's get started with your story. So your story of reinvention started after you had your 6 children. So tell me all about
Indeed.
it.
Indeed. After we had our 6 children, we knew that we were a complete family. There
Mhm.
was no more babies to invite into my womb and into our family. At that time, I had to begin to understand, not at the moment of birth, mind you,
Yeah.
but after about a year, I had to really decide what is going to be the input for the next dispensation of my life.
Uh-huh.
I loved being mom. In fact, I grew up with that being my one destination. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to be a mom and and then have a amazing husband, which I had to trade up for. That's another story for another time. At that point in time, what I was mostly engaged with had everything to do with being pregnant, eating right, breastfeeding. It was all about the power of birth in your life. I
Mm-hmm.
did birth in hospitals for 5 of my 6 births, and
Mm-hmm.
my sixth was born at home. That was the only
Oh.
one born at home for me. This passion for women being empowered had led me into becoming a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did that, I did it through becoming a nurse to become a midwife.
Uh-huh.
I didn't want my scope of practice to be limited.
Yeah.
It involved going to the university, it involved so much change in our lives of
Yeah.
moving and everything. But getting over here and becoming a nurse midwife afforded me so many opportunities to teach and to precept as
Mm-hmm.
well as being a midwife. From the get-go, I wanted to practice in all settings, and then it was
Mm-hmm.
like I wanted to be a community-based midwife.
I
I
see.
did all of those, and then when that came time for that portion, that huge identity that I had built up. So no longer was I a mom and a wife, but I was a midwife.
Yeah.
And then that came to a close. It was 2020. I need to tell you that the caboose of my 6 children has Down syndrome.
Oh.
He has added so much to our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And from the mama's standpoint, it was one of the best blessings you could have. We had years of toddlerhood, years,
Yes.
not
Yeah.
just
For
that
six
brief
children.
feeling of
Yeah.
toddlerhood that goes
Yeah.
by so quickly and it's so darn adorable and it's so
Yeah.
much fun. It's so challenging. But we had time in
Mm-hmm.
each of these phases of his development to
Mm-hmm.
thoroughly enjoy it, to
Yeah.
both experience it, relish it, and then have the ability to say, yeah, it's okay to move on now. Knowing
Mm-hmm.
that he was my caboose, it
Yeah.
was it was like the greatest design I could possibly have asked for.
So I'm curious about that first reinvention that you went through. How old were your kids when you decided? Like, how old was the oldest? How old was the youngest when you decided to go into the nursing and then midwife?
Yes, that's such a great question because between my oldest daughter, who was born in 1971, and my
Uh-huh.
son that was born in 1988, there is a 17-year
Yeah.
year difference. So, as I said, he was one,
Uh,
and then my daughter would have been 18 out of the
yeah.
home. The oldest was out of the home. But yes, we had all the other five children were in both high school and grade
Yeah.
school. And
And
it
so
was,
how was the, you know, basically you're going back to school, right?
I
You
did
have to relearn.
entirely.
So tell me about that period of your time, because that must have been quite challenging,
It
right?
is, and it is, and it was. And I worked as well. I worked as well while I was going to school, and we had our big family,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot. I have to tell you, fast forward,
Mm-hmm.
I'm driving my daughter when she's in college at
Mm-hmm.
Western, and I went to pick her up so she'd be home for the holidays with us.
Yeah.
And in her frame of reference, most of her friends had their ways paid to college. They
Um,
got to have that support that had already been put in place. We paid for books, but and we're driving down the road and she's describing this frame of reference. And I said, I would change that if I could. And I thought a little bit more and I said, you know what? I would not because I am working. I am going to school and I
mhm.
am doing this with full on intention. It has to be, it involves sacrifice, not just from me, from
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
But was it a sacrifice worth investing in? And did it matter enough to invest in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so I changed what I was saying to my daughter based on that.
Yeah.
And it isn't that you want so much for people to struggle, but a conscious choice to have a big family. And
Yes.
we didn't have a tech industry in our household, so there was no real big source of money or big
Yeah.
good money. Uh, we we did have a time of going through that together, but what and I'm learning together. I'm memorizing just
Yeah.
like my daughters are memorizing, just like other things that are going on. So was it idyllic? No, but was it dynamic? Yes. So
Yeah.
dynamic.
So, as you speak and you talk about, the difference in age with your kids, just the fact that you had, kids who were, teenagers and, older, um, what was it like for them? Did you ever talk to them about what was it like to have a mom to just go back to school?
Well, interestingly enough, that's exactly what one of my daughters did, was go back to school after she
Oh,
was a mama. And she graduated from nursing school the very same
yes.
age as I graduated from nursing school. So how did it impact her? I take from that that it was inspirational at some point
Inspirational.
in her
Yeah.
life. Was it hard? And then, when I had children, it was my daughters that were saying, I was like, I don't even know how I can do this. And it's like, well, you do it because we're doing it.
Yes.
And there is sacrifices to be made when you
Yeah.
have a big family, but the richness of having that family and
Yeah.
being connected is so much more valuable and it's
Yeah.
laced with actual values systems. So I don't apologize for that time. I didn't have the inspiration for that time until I reached that point.
Yeah.
You get so absorbed with being a mom. We all
Yeah.
do, and we
Yeah.
should. I mean, when that
Yeah.
baby comes out and that baby becomes part of
Yeah.
your reality, everything has changed. Everything has
Yes.
changed, right? And you're no longer living for yourself. They actually come before you. And you begin in many ways to become a little disconnected with your other hopes and dreams that are not cemented around this family right
Yes.
now. There are times in our lives where we need to reconnect
Yes.
with that. And that's what it felt like to me when I
Hmm.
came to the point of I'm not going to be just adding to this family. What is it that is going to be valuable? And if I have to be outside the home, it's got to be worth it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's got to be something that matters. It's got to be something that energizes, not just me, but those in
Yeah.
life that I get to do it with. So that's how that occurred. It
Yeah.
was, and yes, I don't know if other mothers have, maybe by this age, other mothers have had the opportunity, or one or more, in this case, two, showed up to say, you weren't there for us. And from my point of view, it was like, all I was doing was driving you to this, driving you to that, doing this, doing that. And,
Hmm.
I was also doing school and I was also doing those other things. But my life
Yeah.
was calculated
Yeah.
around this whole thing. It was like that was the center. But the come to Jesus moments or the times when they get to come back and say to
Yeah.
you, I missed having you in this part of my life is real. And it's really awesome if we can engage in those conversations as we
Yeah.
go along and as we can say, how are we connected now? And what do
Yes.
we need to do to be connected now? How do I show up in the
Hmm.
way that you know that I am putting you first in this way at this time, at this moment? When you take on being a midwife, and especially when I was a solo midwife, the family wasn't first.
Yeah.
I mean, I was called to a birth, I would go. I was
Yeah.
called to this, I would go. And for a season, and that was a big season, that was near 20 years. But the solo practice was 9 years, I just want to clarify.
Hmm.
But that's a message that I didn't want to continue my whole life. No,
Mm.
not at
Yeah.
all. In
Yeah.
2020, such a catalyst for so many people,
Yeah.
Kyle didn't have programs to go to all of a
Yeah.
sudden. So I needed to be home with my son. And I need to transition out of being a midwife. I loved the connection, and I still love the connection I have with
Yeah.
my families. We would have celebrate your life with your midwife every year. And then I would have more than one baby with each mommy that had babies that were more than
Uh-huh.
one. And that still, after I was no longer doing it, still would be a little like, oh, when they would go and have another
Yeah.
baby. It's like, oh, I still want to be there for you.
Yeah.
And yet, I need to be there in the place of making sure my grandchildren know me, my
Yes.
kids know me, my family comes first.
Hmm.
It's an experience that matters. It really does.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
reinvented
So
myself.
I love seeing all your dimensions of passion. And this is, such a great reminder that, like you said, as women, there's just so much going on. Especially the minute you become a mother, right? You kind of like split yourself into so many pieces, and you need to give 100% to all of those. And it just
Yes.
seems that, you did it with grace, accepting, that sometimes you might be great and sometimes not so great, but you just gave yourself the grace to just do it. You were serving, which I think is admirable. You were serving your family. You were serving your community, right?
Yes.
The other families, the midwife
Yes.
family.
Yes.
But what I love reading and in listening into your story is that despite the fact that you were serving others, you were also truly serving yourself. And that connection to yourself, that you managed to do it, it's just so inspiring because it's just so
Mm.
easy to just go into the grind and forgetting yourself.
Mhm.
But, and I think we can see on your face the joy that, you
Mm.
just really filled in your, your energy and your, your identity bucket through those. So
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
my identity. I mean,
Yeah.
having babies and all the things I was passionate about, La Leche League, and also
Yeah.
being involved in the sports that the kids are in and
Yeah.
just being out there. That was my life. And that was what I was very impassioned about. And
Yeah.
connection has always been the most important
Yeah.
thing. And it's important to have that connection. And I believe that connection has to be within yourself and your heart. That alignment
Yeah.
has to be there.
Yeah.
And that is the thing to you can't find outside as a midwife. You go to people and you're
Yeah.
supporting them. You're supporting them because you know that strength they don't know they have yet.
Yes, that's so
You
true.
see it, you
Yeah.
know it, and
You
you
know
know,
it.
and you stand there with them to discover it.
Yeah.
And that is
That is
such an
so true.
amazing thing to be there to foster the discoveries. So
Yeah.
I love it when you're a midwife. I think it's part of your identity for the rest of your life, but you just convert
Yeah.
it into other things that you
Yeah.
do.
So let's talk about the next thing, right?
Yes.
Because you left that physical midwife world. It's still in your heart, it's still who you are, but you transition into radio. So tell me about this transition.
I would be so happy to because we've just talked about Roxanne's passion through her life, having kids, making babies, creating wholesome food in the household,
Yeah.
making sure that people have their buckets of being loved filled and all
Yeah.
of that. Well, my husband's passion is radio. He was listening to radio. He worked in a radio station when he was during his high school time, during his college days,
Uh-huh.
and he was a broadcast engineer. He worked in TV, he worked
Uh-huh.
in broadcasting, and he is a music enthusiast. His mother uh, taught music lessons, his sisters, both musicians
Yeah.
and both in symphonies or in their own
Yeah.
own creation, folk song
Mm-hmm.
singer and songwriter, and he has a music collection that's to no limits. It is no limits. It keeps going on and
Yeah.
on and on and on, and so that's his passion. And when I speak of my passion, I want my whole families, everyone I contact, I want you to live your passion. So I
Yes.
wanted a radio station in his life. I really wanted it. And so he became involved with the radio station 10 years ago, actually
Okay.
before it was on air, and brought it on air. And after
Wow.
I left midwifery, I had to get conversations on the air. So I started doing a podcast called Midwife After Hours.
Oh,
And I did
nice.
that for a few years. My involvement with the radio kept going on and on
Uh-huh.
because of that combined passion.
Yeah.
And I started to go to meetings for the where we were just at, for the chamber meetings,
Uh-huh.
and just saying the radio station is here. It's been a very small, dedicated group of people that has made it live but
Yeah.
not thrive. We're
Yes.
alive, but not quite thriving yet.
Yeah.
So then, when the opportunity it came through a lot of my other building my strength and my presence and my abilities through
Okay.
Toastmasters, which really made a huge difference. I'm
Yeah.
still really involved with Toastmasters because I love it so
Yeah.
much. That led me to the point of really saying, we can rock this. And that's when I became president. I have so much growth and opportunity to do here and
Yeah.
making sure that people know the community, as you say, is what's so important. It's a
Yes.
nonprofit, low power radio station. It doesn't belong to the little group of people that run it. It belongs to everyone. And
Yeah.
it's like a best kept secret. This
Yeah.
is your radio station.
Yeah.
This belongs to you.
Yeah. And our community here in the Valley is just so rich. So
It
I'm
is.
so glad to hear, that message from you. Um,
Yes. It's a
so
thriving community here. And then that is part of it is part of what helps it thrive, honestly. And
yeah.
yet as we get more and more people connected and seeing themselves, hearing themselves reflected and hearing their voices on the
Yeah.
air and recognizing that this is meant for the community, then
Yeah.
it's going to take on a very different role.
I love it. So I'm curious, and I don't know if you have like some amazing, cool stories to tell about the radio. I mean, you obviously went from being a great supporter of women, right, and families, and now you expanded your passion into supporting the community and just opening all these possibilities. But I'm wondering, do you have any like cool stories that have happened, things that have, kind of you go home and you're like, this is why I'm doing this?
Yeah. Well, the endeavor that we're in the midst of right now is putting on a new actual radio program. It's called Valley Voices.
Valley
And what we
Voices.
Valley Voices, we want to capture voices of people. We want to know how we can unite. There's so much that's trying to take
Yeah.
us into different
Yes.
polarized places.
Yes.
But when you know someone's story,
Yes.
you immediately can see how, even if people are in different places on how
Yeah.
they are thinking, they can
Yeah.
have the same values.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
knowing our neighbors and gaining that insight into really the types of situations that have formed them to be the people that they are, it commands respect for
Yes.
one another. It unites us in our
Yeah.
humanity.
Yeah.
We have been beginning this endeavor by going to, for instance, we took a cool booth down to the farmers market and had people go in and share whatever thoughts they wanted about what it's
Oh,
like for
this is
them to
so
be in this
cool.
community. We just took it to a fundraiser, and the fundraiser is for the organization that is putting together for us to have a community center and a pool. And they
Mm.
had a fundraiser at the golf course, at
Oh
Total
yeah,
Golf
that was the
Course.
event on last Monday, right?
Yes, and that we had the booth there for people to go in to the booth and speak what it is that is their passion, what it is they like
Yeah.
about contributing to this event or being a part of this valley or
Yeah.
whatever it is that is part of what you want to contribute,
Yes.
because contributing is so important. And we're getting all these sound bites. And last night we were at the Grange doing an open mic of storytelling
Oh, love it.
and taping for those that were willing, taping and getting their release so that we can add these voices to the air with their stories to tell.
This
So,
is so cool.
isn't it so exciting? And I
Yeah.
just can't I just can't help but be excited when I get to connect with community partners. One of them
Yeah.
is my friend. She just lives across the lake from me. But it was with another person that I met at one of the chambers,
Yeah.
and we got excited about this idea, and we wanted to use Valley Folk. Well, Valley Folk is the name of a band, and it happens to be the band of my neighbor. So
Oh.
I knock on her door and say, "We're creating a radio program, and we'd like to use your music." She became as involved with it too. So
Oh.
it was Megan Mellon to begin with, and it was Elizabeth and myself, and then it's including Betsy, other community partners. And we're going to interview people in the community, both people that have businesses and people that are just people that want to have a story to share. And
Yeah.
it's so exciting. Isn't that live?
Yeah, I love it. It's just like, just poking at everything, and you're really building something the ground up with such a powerful tool, that community radio. Because often we find, especially with the podcasts, right, people just really target things, but that community radio is, a little bit more general, and then you're just really forcing that, well, it's not forcing, but really enabling that community, and your enthusiasm is just like so communicative. So I, I'm curious, in those, you can listen live to the radio, of course, but can you just tune in into some programs? So for example, if I want to listen to the Valley folks, is there like a podcast where you can just listen to those? How is that structured?
There will be. There will be. Valley Folk has not actually had its inaugural presentations on the air. It will have a weekly spot that's specifically there, and you will have a way to listen offline. You could still go in and listen to programs that I did a few years ago. We are in that process of doing that. We're also excited to have community partners with the local school district. We broadcasted some games last year, some basketball games live. We broadcasted them. I was one of those parents that had littles as well as teens, and I couldn't always gather the whole family and go down to the game. Or for those relatives that live across the United States or across the world, you can tune in and hear these players playing their game. I'm so excited about it. We're going to do it for football season too. So creating these partnerships of what does small town radio look like? Small town radio, and what does it sound like, and who is it that wants to be seen and heard on it? It's just a wonderful thing. I say seen because it's radio, but we're simulcasting, for example, all the festivals in the entire valley. We just were at Mount Si Festival. Before that, we were at the North Bend Festival. Before that, we were at the Falls City Festival. Before that, we were at the Duval Days. We have done these festivals, broadcasted them onto the radio for the fact that we have local musicians often that are featured at all these festivals.
So rich.
Yes.
So rich.
We're so rich. We are so rich.
So much music. It's just amazing. Yes, well, you're such a power. I just have superlatives for you. So much energy, so much power, so much inspiration. And your drive is just like really to be reckoned with. And what I love the most is that sometimes like you go to the radio website and you just see a logo and you see some programs, but you don't know who's behind it. And just having the chance today to discover who you are, who's behind that logo and that website of valley1049.org, right? And just knowing that there's such a passionate woman who's just kicked ass all her life is just amazing, right?
I would love to put out just a call to action for people. We know that website is antiquated. We know that website is not user friendly. We know that when we show up in person, we show up brilliantly. I believe that with all my heart. We show up because of the heart, because we care about the community.
Yes.
And we would like everything that we do to reflect that passion. We need people to come and be part of it. We need those people that have those capacities and those abilities and just that desire to be part of something that is thriving and is giving back. And I would just issue that as a plea. We need fundraisers. We need web designers. We just need people that want to learn about and do programming. We need IT people. We need a robust group of community participants. We need a home. It does take a village. And we need, above all, and this was kind of my first big goal, we need a home for our studio. We have never had our own studio home, which means we're limited in who we can invite in to
Yeah.
have conversations, to put music on the air. And we want a physical space that belongs to Valley 104.9 FM that says, come here, be part of this. So that's another plea I put out
Well,
there.
we're going to share this interview
Yes.
and, I'll put it live and we'll share so people can not only learn about the amazing person you are and all the great things you're doing for the community, but, how people can get involved and
Yes.
just help build the
Yes.
community through this radio
Yes.
station.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
I'm so thankful too. I do want to say, this is not a downer, it's a thing to be knowing. There are only 84, I believe, nonprofit stations in the state of Washington, and across the entire United States, there's
Mm-hmm.
less than 800. You can't get a license. And if we lose our license, you're not going to get another one. So it is one of those things that, like so many things in our life, that it
Yeah.
really matters that it's supported. It
Yes.
really matters that you have an opportunity to take that ownership and
Yes.
utilize the advantages of it and see the resources that you have so that it can extend to everyone, not just
Yes.
some, not just
Yeah.
some.
Well, the message is out there.
It
Thank
certainly
you.
is. Thanks to you, Stephanie. I mean, I
We'll
so
see how we
support the work
do.
you're doing
Um,
here.
yeah, you see, this is kind of, my, passion project to just
Yes,
be able to not only be inspired by women like you, but just discover. And, like I said, we just met by chance. We sat next to each other, we started talking, and we just prepped a little bit for the interview, but I had no idea really what you were going to say. And just listening to your story and your passion and the challenges and how you just stay into it. This is just priceless for me to just discover. And I hope for people who listen, all over, you know, um the world who speak English and just stumble upon this, because what you experience is valid anywhere else, right? It's kind of a universal thing. So thank
yeah.
you, thank you, thank you so much. If I
Thank
were to
you.
ask you one last question about you, just in a few words, imagine you're meeting with your younger self and you have one message to tell her. Knowing what you know, what do you tell young Roxanne?
Your heart is the key to the universe.
Oh, nice. Well, on this beautiful line, thank you so much. And I just wish that your passion gets, all over our community and beyond.
Well, I'm sure it will. It's such an opportunity meeting you and finding out we're neighbors practically.
Yes.
We're on little lakes and we're not very far apart. I'm so
No.
excited. I do think that synchronicity is real and nothing is purely by chance. I think that
Yeah.
there's design, and
Well,
I'm
yeah.
so thankful for the design that we got to experience
Yeah.
today. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you
I
so
wish you
much,
well in
Roxanne.
all you do.
Thank you. And I'll see you soon.
It sounds great. I like
Yes.
that.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you for joining on my interviews. This is Stephanie with I'm Ready for the World. I hope you like this interview, and I invite you to send me more names of amazing women that you think I should invite an interview. And I'll see you either on Instagram or TikTok or on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Bye.